posted there, outside of Venezuela. The Gerald R. 4 carrier strike group, which is en route right now, some 10,000 troops, drones. I mean, the list goes on, Robbie Cat, in advance of potentially even more military operations as well. So on that note, on Sunday, as we were talking about in 60 Minutes, President Trump was asked about the ongoing strikes, if the U.S. is going to war with Venezuela, and if America's military efforts really are about narcotics operations, or more so, regime change in Venezuela.
Are we going to war against Venezuela?
I doubt it. I don't think so. But they've been treating us very badly, not only the drugs. They've dumped hundreds of thousands of people into our country. What do you want? People from prisons, they emptied their prisons into our country.
Is it about stopping narcotics, or is this about getting rid of President Maduro?
No, this is about many things. This is a country that allowed their prisons to be emptied into our country. To me, that would be almost number one, because we have other countries. Look, Mexico has been very bad to us in terms of drugs. Okay, very bad. We have a closed border right now. You probably noticed that for 5 months in a row, they have zero people coming into our country through our southern border.
And getting back to Venezuela, Maduro is really embedded in the president's bullseye, even going back, Robin Katz, to his first term. The president adding, as you heard in the intro, that he thinks Maduro's days are numbered, but would not discuss potential land strikes, as he said, certainly with a reporter. He's not going to telegraph any potential military operations like that. This is Democratic members of Congress, and even some Republicans, Senator Rand Paul, Todd Young, Mike Turner, among others, have questioned the legality of these strikes and are really demanding more information about America's ongoing military operations and really where things are going from here, you guys. Back to you.
All right, John Heidi, thanks for bringing us up to speed. Appreciate it.
All right, still ahead, some prominent conservative thought leaders appear to be embracing anti-Semitism. What does it mean for the GOP? We're going to have that at the top of the hour.
But first, Academy Award-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence pumps the brakes on political speak, while other celebrities are doubling down, as usual, on their hatred for President Trump. Details next on The Other View.
And this, I spotted Newsmax. Look at this, Troy L. spotted Newsmax at Dillon's Distribution Center in Hutchinson, Kansas. That's a little northwest of Wichita. Not a good day for their Chiefs yesterday going to Buffalo. To submit your own I Spotted, go to iSpottedNewsmax.com.
When Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, fell on the 30th of April, 1975, America's long conflict there may have ended, but it took decades for the nation to heal its wounds. In 1973, President Nixon orchestrated the Paris Peace Accords, bringing to an end America's involvement in the Vietnam War. America's POWs returned home, and all seemed well, until March of 1975, when Senator Ted Kennedy led Congress in cutting off all aid to South Vietnam. Within weeks, communist North Vietnam reneged on the peace accords and invaded their neighbors to the south. Without U.S. support, South Vietnam fell to the communists, and throughout South Vietnam, a bloodbath ensued as hundreds of thousands of South Vietnamese who had backed the U.S. were massacred. Empowered by the events in Vietnam, communists in Laos and Cambodia soon toppled their pro-Western regimes, and Southeast Asia became a killing field, with the genocide of an additional 2 million people. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
Cuba may be over 200 miles away from Miami, but its little Havana neighborhood sizzles hot as the noon sun. Hundreds of thousands of Cubans fled their homeland in the decades that followed Castro's communist takeover in 1959. Now it is the best-known neighborhood for free Cubans in the world. Miami's Southwest 8th Street has become Calle Ocho, the lively center of a Latin world filled with cafes and bodegas pumping salsa music into the air. And the occasional rooster call. The hub is the famed Cafe Versailles, a place for authentic Cuban food and Cafe Cubano, where locals gab and dine easily with stars, political leaders, and even presidents. Close by is the Cuban Memorial Plaza, commemorating the 68 exiles who died during the famous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. On a lighter note, a Walk of Fame commemorates local artists and Latin personalities, including Celia Cruz, Willie Chirino, and Queen of Latin Rhythm, Gloria Estefan. When 6-year-old Cuban refugee Elian Gonzalez was found floating off of the Florida coast in 1999, he lived here with relatives. And when the U.S. government forcibly sent the boy back to Cuba, Little Havana went into an uproar, with many saying it cost Al Gore the 2000 presidential election. One thing is certain, there is no other place like Little Havana, except perhaps Havana itself. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
Abraham Lincoln began the war between the states with a single stated purpose: to preserve the Union. So it surprised everyone when in July of 1862, President Lincoln announced his intentions to issue an Emancipation Proclamation to free the Southern slaves. Lincoln was urged to delay his proclamation until the Union Army could boast a battlefield victory. That opportunity came at the Battle of Antietam. The Union forces drove Lee's army out of Maryland. 5 days later, on September 22nd, 1862, President Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation, stating slaves in those areas still in rebellion within 100 days will be freed. This action made slavery the focus of the war and ultimately caused France and England to withdraw their support of the South. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
It's true. I am an America First, liberty-loving Latino. That's why I know this country is worth fighting for. That's why the Chris Salcedo Show will always tell you the truth.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.
Welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Katrina Zish. It's time now for The Other View.
Security. Like, I was like, find Donald Trump, because I was adamant on finding him and then making a video of me going, hey, Trump, you.
Well, Academy Award-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence never been shy about speaking her mind, especially when it comes to politics. That is, until now. Once outspoken Trump critic is now clarifying her new approach to today's heated political climate. Here she is on The Interview. That's a podcast from the New York Times on Trump, celebrity endorsements, and lessons learned.
As we've learned, election after election, celebrities do not make a difference whatsoever on who people vote for. And so then what am I doing? I'm just sharing my opinion on something that's going to just add fuel to a fire that's ripping the country apart. I mean, we are so divided. I think I'm in a complicated recalibration because I'm also an artist, and I, with this temperature and the way that things can turn out, I don't want to start turning people off to films and to art that could change consciousness or change the world because they don't like my political opinions.
Joining me now is Senator Allison Lee, alongside Congresswoman and board member at the Independent Women's Forum, Nan Hayward. Welcome to both of you here. Nan, it's interesting when a celebrity actually seems to be self-aware enough to realize we don't care about my political opinions. What was your take on her commentary?
It's false. And clearly she's become aware that she can alienate as many people as she might attract. But she's saying something more. She's saying the temperature is too high. We are too polarized. And I think she's right that taking an ecumenical approach, even if that means neutrality, or it could mean making sure that you are complimentary to both sides, is going to help us all to unite. I laud her commentary.
Allison, of course, you are a marketing guru. So the first thing I thought when I heard that was also, well, she also said in that same podcast that she realized that people were just sick of her being so outspoken. Around, she's like, I think I really annoy people. She wasn't just talking about politics. So I'm thinking that maybe her decision to stay quiet or stay mum on politics is really more of a marketing.
Could be.
I just want people to like me. I'm gonna stay quiet.
It could be, her team could say, listen, this is the right approach to take. I mean, she's been very vocal in 2015. She said if Trump becomes president, the world's going to end. It says that she comes from a Republican family, but then turned Democrat. And celebrities are seeing this. They're realizing that people want to watch their movies, watch their shows, go to the concerts for their talents. And that is really the space that they should stay in. Same with athletes. And good for her for coming out and saying that maybe I need to, just step away and be good at what my craft is, and that's acting.
Yeah, Academy Award winner. She is pretty good. She is pretty good. It's interesting though. She did say, nobody cares about what celebrities say. I was going to say though, there might be one who actually can move the needle, and I don't know if that's because he's involved in so many, raising so much money for Democrats, but that would be George Clooney. And so I wanted to share something. He was on CBS Sunday morning over the weekend, and he said he did not regret writing that New York Times op-ed asking Joe Biden to step out of the race, but he did say he thinks a mistake was made about going full on with Kamala Harris, and he said that was a mistake. But what I did want you guys to listen to and get your thoughts on is then something he referenced that he said on CNN previously when he also doubled down on not regretting that New York Times op-ed. Listen.
It was a civic duty. That's the deal. You have to take a stand if you believe in it. Take a stand for it, and then do the consequences. That's the rules. And so when people criticize me, they criticize me because of my stance against the war 20 years ago. And people picketed my movies, and they put me on a deck of cards. And and that's I have to take that. That's fair. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with criticism for for where I stand. I defend their right to criticize me as much as I defend my right to criticize them.
Again, I respect what he said there because he owns it. He says he does. He's a major Democratic fundraiser, and he famously wrote that op-ed. And after seeing President Biden at a fundraiser, realizing this is not the man that I knew. And millions of Americans agree with him. So certainly, he is willing to take that risk. I personally have objected to most of his opinions. If he's anti-war, by golly, I ought to be warming up to President Trump pretty fast. But that aside, I do respect that, if he wants to burn away half of his potential fan base, I don't think that obviously doesn't have that night that takes place in Lacoma, I believe it is. Yeah, and I'm sure other final thought. The difference between him and Jennifer Lawrence is he was at that fundraiser. He did see President Biden, and I think he's right. It was up to him to let the American public know exactly what he'd seen. Yeah. All right, we're gonna leave it there. Allison, Congressman Hayward, thank you both for joining me on the other weekend. All right, coming up, a new study is linking mothers who had COVID-19 during a pregnancy to higher rates of autism. Former White House COVID response coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx joins us after the break. There she is to weigh in on the methodology and the findings next. You're not going to want to miss this. Stay with us.
Not many corners of Manhattan's financial district remain unchanged since the early 1700s. But Francistown looks much like it did when French Huguenot Stephen Delancey built it in 1719 as his residence in the then British colony called New York. This place became a local landmark in 1762 when it was bought by a family of Francis who turned the house into a tavern. During the Revolution era, Francis's watering hole proved to be a popular spot among rebellious colonists, including a secretive group known as the Sons of Liberty. When members of the group fired cannons on the HMS Asia in 1775, the British naval ship retaliated, striking Francistown's roof with a cannonball. British troops did finally evacuate, and it was here organization devoted to educating the public about the struggle for American liberty. They own it to this day and preserve it as a sacred, historic landmark. Inside, a museum features Revolutionary War flags and personal belongings of George Washington and his compatriots. Today, New Yorkers and tourists alike share in traditional libations, food, and music in the tavern's dining room. And, like Washington, they toast the Sons of Liberty in one of Manhattan's oldest surviving buildings. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
9:47 a.m. on the 20th of February, 1962, Lieutenant Colonel John Glenn Jr. of New Concord, Ohio, found himself sitting on top of an Atlas VI rocket filled with 600,000 pounds of fuel. At liftoff, 360,000 pounds of thrust hurled the massive rocket and its occupant into space and America's history books. John Glenn became the fourth human being to enter space and the first American to orbit the Earth. For his remarkable heroism, President Kennedy awarded Colonel Glenn NASA's Distinguished Service Medal.
As our knowledge of this universe in which we live increases, may God grant us the wisdom and guidance to use it wisely. Thank you.
Glenn went on to become the United States Senator from Ohio, and in 1984 ran for the Democratic presidential nomination, but lost to Walter Mondale. In the early morning hours of May 2nd, 2011, the Central Intelligence Agency launched Operation Neptune Spear and set into motion a mission to bring one of the world's most notorious terrorists to justice. All indications were that Osama bin Laden was asleep as the U.S. Naval Special Warfare Development Group, known as SEAL Team 6, approached his highly secured three-story Pakistani-based compound. When located in his living quarters on the third floor of his compound, the head of the Islamist group Al-Qaeda was found using his young wife as a shield. The Obama administration reported the 54-year-old terrorist was given a traditional Islamic burial at sea. 9 years, 7 months, and 21 days following his infamous attack on New York's Twin Towers, killing thousands of innocent civilians, its mastermind, Osama bin Laden, was dead.
Welcome back to American Agenda. So we're hearing a lot more about possible contributing factors of neurodevelopment disorders in children. The Trump administration recently speaking out against Tylenol during pregnancy. And now a new study is linking mothers who had COVID-19 while pregnant during the pandemic to higher rates of neurodevelopment disorders.
Researchers at Massachusetts General Hospital analyzed more than 18,000 births occurred between March 2020 and May 2021, and the Mass General Brick Health System. They assessed records of lab-confirmed COVID-19 tests among the mothers and neurodevelopment diagnoses of their children through the age of 3. Now, according to the researchers, having a COVID-19 infection during pregnancy was associated with a 29% greater chance of the child having a neurodevelopmental condition. Among 860 women who tested positive for coronavirus while pregnant during that time, 140, so just more than 16%, gave birth to a child who would receive a neurodevelopment diagnosis by age 3, the most common being autism. Tony Snow to break down the methodology and also to explain the findings of the study is former White House COVID response coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx. Dr. Birx, always great to have you here on American Agenda. And I just want to preface this by saying what we like to do is give everyone the facts because we do not want anyone to panic. And I know that's exactly what you're going to do, so take it away.
Yeah, thank you for explaining the study so well and doing this segment, because 3 of the conditions that existed then don't exist any longer today. Remember, this is from March of 2020 to May of 2021. That was through 3 surges. You know, the first surge was in the Northeast, the second surge was in the summer in the South, and the third surge in the winter of 2020 that led into 2021 was across the country. And so most women were probably exposed to COVID during those times. So now what we've done is we've self-selected the group of women during pregnancy, which we knew about. Get seriously infected with a virus, even the flu, during pregnancy, there is a higher risk to you, the mother, and the baby. And that's why you'll hear that we recommend flu immunizations, particularly for pregnant women. But if any woman out there that is concerned today, because now everybody has some level of immunity. Remember, this is before anybody had protection against COVID-19. And most women of childbearing age now are protected either because they got naturally infected or they have had the vaccination. So they're getting, and we know the virus has changed and it's less deadly in general than it was then. But always, always, always go to your OBGYN if you get sick during pregnancy because it's really important you're seen.
Doc, any differential between women who had COVID-19 and were not vaccinated versus those who had COVID-19 and were vaccinated?
So in this study, almost no one was vaccinated. Unless you were a healthcare worker, it was almost impossible to get the COVID vaccine before May of 2021. So I think most people were not vaccinated. I think what's really important at this point is to really, I'm concerned about, if you look at the graph of neurodevelopmental disorders over the last 2 decades, now admittedly, we've changed the definitions, we've raised awareness, and so people are more likely to get diagnosed. If you really want to know, did COVID specifically have an impact, you need to look at the slope of the trend lines going forward. I don't see an inflection in that slope of how many neurodevelopmental issues have developed since 2020. They're on the same slope that they were on in 2000 and in 2010. All of them are rising. ADHD, autism spectrum disorder. We need to figure this out because it is going up.
Dr. Birx, thanks so much for being with us. It's an important study, but still a lot more questions.
Yeah, a lot more time needs to pass, bigger sample size, all those things I know you'll be watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. The second hour of American Agenda starts right after this.
Big news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax all the time, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax shareowner, call your broker advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America.
There are grand big city hotels, and then there's the grandest of them all, the Waldorf Astoria on New York City's prestigious Park Avenue. Millionaire William Waldorf Astor opened his 13-story Waldorf Hotel on the site of his mansion at the corner of Fifth Avenue and 33rd Street in Manhattan in 1893. His cousin, John Jacob Astor IV, built an adjoining hotel 4 years later, and the name Waldorf Astoria has lasted ever since. Not so for the hotels themselves. Shortly after Astor died tragically aboard the Titanic, the hotels were demolished to make way for the Empire State Building. A new Waldorf Astoria was built at its current location in 1931, in the beginning of the Great Depression. At the time, it was the tallest and largest hotel in the world. You would be hard-pressed to find a more impressive guest registry in the world. Every U.S. president since Herbert Hoover has stayed here. When legendary singer Cole Porter died in the 1960s, Frank Sinatra took his seat as his New York residence. Other famous residents included Grace Kelly, retired President Eisenhower, and General Douglas MacArthur. While the hotel has hosted many famous Americans, it is most famous not for a person, but a dinner salad. The Waldorf salad was created at the original hotel in the mid-1890s by Oscar Chirky, an industrious maitre d'. it became an international sensation. Whether salads or world summits, history has repeatedly been made here. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
January 15th, 1929 was a chilly day in Atlanta, Georgia, when a family gathered to welcome into this world a new life, and with it, a new hope for America. Throughout his 39 years, he instilled in Americans a new spirit of justice and freedom based on equality instead of status, and character instead of race. He waged a nonviolent war on racial segregation, with appearances that radiated with an energy that transcended all races, all faiths, and people of all ages, with words that still resonate today. He spoke to us of his dreams and his beliefs that justice too long delayed is justice denied.
It's an issue that has divided the left in recent years, but now some prominent figures on the right seem to be embracing it as well. We're talking, of course, about anti-Semitism, and as several Jewish groups are openly criticizing New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, who has espoused anti-Israel sentiments, to say the least. In the past, key conservative thought leaders are now calling out one of their very own for the same reason. And now up American Agenda, I'm Katrina Zish.
And I'm Rob Astorino in for Bob Brooks. It's the interview that's threatening to kind of fracture the Republican coalition. Tucker Carlson's softball sit-down with known white supremacist, racist, and anti-Semite Nick Fuentes.
It was the Zionist Jews, like Dave Rubin, like Ben Shapiro, like Dennis Prager. It was these guys that were really controlling the media apparatus that seemed to me to be the biggest impediment. The idea that neoconservatism in Israel has nothing to do with Jewishness, Jewish identity, the Jewish religion, because clearly the state of Israel and the neocons are deeply motivated by that ethnic identity, and their allegiance to Israel proceeds from that. Although this is, just BLM, the new version. This is identity politics. Identity politics. I mean, that's just so obvious to me. What you're saying about putting aside the tribal interest in corporate interest, that's absolutely the case, and that's the only way the country's going to stay together. That's my concern, and I absolutely agree with you. I would say, though, that the main challenge to that, the big challenge to that, is organized Jewry in America. I see Jewishness as the common denominator.
All right, here's how one Wall Street Journal columnist described the interview. Carlson, quote, normalized his guest with the gentlest of questioning, nodding along as Mr. Fuentes said the country can't be held together unless organized Jewry in America, quote, is defeated. But there's nothing normal about Mr. Fuentes. In fact, he denies the facts of the Holocaust, opposes interracial marriage, seeks total Aryan victory, and urges the rule of a Catholic Taliban. He calls for the death penalty for an occult element at the high levels of society, specifically among the Jews, that is suppressing Christianity.
Well, as you can imagine, that interview is prompting a response from Kevin Roberts. He's the president of the Heritage Foundation, an organization that definitely was considered the gold standard of conservative policy matters, and hopefully will still be. But he put out this video defending Carlson.
The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate.
That interview and the statement from the Heritage Foundation causing Texas Senator Ted Cruz to offer this stinging rebuke.
Now is the time for choosing. If you sit there with someone who says Adolf Hitler was very, very cool, and that their mission is to combat and defeat global Jewry,
and you are complicit in that evil.
Our correspondent Joe Moeller is standing by live in New York City with more. Joe, what can you tell us?
Yeah, well, this is all unfolding as the Republican Jewish Coalition met in Las Vegas. They meet every single year, and it attracts Jewish people from all over the country. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of statements about Tucker Carlson in that recent interview with political commentator Nick Fuentes, and now the Heritage Foundation is basically that statement you just aired. Here's a little bit more of Carlson's interview with Fuentes.
One of those people who is defined by clips. Yes. And I'm one of those people. Oh, yes. So I get it. So I'm going to just shut up and you tell me what you actually believe. Yeah. Well, and listen, I mean, and I appreciate you saying that because that's just the reality of the media environment we're in. So I don't expect you to know all my views, but I mean, as far as the Jews are concerned, I think that, like I said, you cannot actually divorce Israel and the neocons and all those things that you talk about from Jewishness.
Well, after that interview, the president of the Heritage Foundation, Karen Roberts, like you had mentioned, making headlines, facing backlash for the support for Tucker Carlson.
We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic.
Well, this is all unfolding as this past weekend in Las Vegas, the Republican Jewish Coalition Summit took place. The event draws Republicans from all over the nation, and many GOP lawmakers were there to speak. A handful of college students stood up during Congressman Randy Fein's speech with signs that say Tucker is not MAGA, as he slammed the former Fox News host for his interview.
Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. He has chosen to take on the mantle of leader of a modern-day Hitler Youth, to broadcast and feature those who celebrate the Nazis, those who call for the extermination of Israel.
A number of speakers mentioned this throughout the weekend, and another notable one at the Republican Jewish Coalition was Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy, who also talked about the far-right concerns.
I want to talk to you about something else, something that's just as troubling. We expect attacks on Israel from the far left, but increasingly we're seeing dangerous rhetoric from the right in America. Now, I don't call these people conservatives.
And since that statement from the Heritage Foundation president, there has been some fallout. There are reports of several resignations from the organization, including a prominent. Let's hear it. I'll send it back to you. All right, Joel, thank you so much.
All right, for more on this, let's bring in TV anchor Batya Ungar-Sargon, along with the author of Israel and Civilization and host of the Josh Hammer Show. Josh Hammer, welcome to both of you. Batya, I'll start with you. Just your reaction to that interview with Fuentes on Tucker's podcast and the fallout, really the division on the right.
So first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for covering this with such sensitivity. I feel a little bit like the Lorax, you know that book, like where he's like, I speak for the trees, like I speak for the swing voter who loves the MAGA movement and loves President Trump. And I just have to tell you, a movement that cannot condemn people who love Hitler and hate blacks and hate Jews will not win swing voters. People like me who are looking for that America First agenda do not vote for people who have a hard time condemning anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, and, attacks on quote-unquote world Jewry. And so to see the president of the Heritage Foundation, this legacy conservative organization, stand up for platforming Nick Fuentes, it was really shocking, but I also have to say, the number of Christians who have stood up and said, not on my watch, has been so moving to me as a Jewish American, just to see that there really is so little appetite for this on the right, which really distinguishes it from the left.
So we've seen
Newsom, key supporters of Israel within the GOP. He really goes after, in particular, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz is planning to run for president for the Republican nomination this presidential cycle. I think Ted Cruz is sad, needs to run as the first one.
All right, so it's not just Ted Cruz, by the way. It's also South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham that gets the ire of Tucker Carlson as well.
Bibi Netanyahu is a foreigner. He's trying to do what he thinks he should do for himself in the country. I get that. What's Lindsey Graham's excuse? What's Ted Cruz's excuse?
So, Josh, what's your reaction when you see this? I mean, it's like, I think a very small part of the Republican Party, but it's there, or the conservative movement, it's there, but it's got to be stopped.
Tucker Carlson is not just the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, which he clearly is. He's the Father Coughlin of our generation, but he is also the single biggest threat right now to the vitality and viability of the MAGA coalition itself, because he is fomenting an utterly insane and asinine assault on other members of the coalition, by which I simply do not mean, actually. I don't mean just Jews. I mean Christians. What Tucker Carlson told Nick Fuentes in this interview now seen around the world is that he considers Christian Zionists to be the people that he hates more than anybody, more than Trans-Tifa, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, illegal alien criminals, whatever. He hates Christian Zionists the most. It's a weird way of saying that he hated, one, his father, who was a literal self-avowed, self-described Christian Zionist. Two, he hated Charlie Kirk, the man at whose memorial he just spoke about a month and a half ago. And three, perhaps more to the point, he hates a plurality, maybe the majority, at least a plurality, of the literal Donald Trump voting Republican base, who are mostly Christian and are mostly Zionist insofar as they believe that the Jewish people have a right to their ancestral homeland and are generally supportive of the Jewish people and U.S. relations. So Tucker is a massive threat. I agree with Anya that my friend Kevin Roberts egregiously erred in this astonishingly, jaw-droppingly bad video that came out last Thursday. And this is a reckoning. This is a reckoning for the MAGA movement. This is a reckoning for the American rights. I still am, though, optimistic that the force of Santa will prevail in this fight.
Josh, thank you. Bacha, thank you so much.
Carlson has also espoused some, you could call them bizarre, Christianity's relationship with Judaism. Here he is calling out so-called Christian Zionism.
The chosen people in Christianity are those who choose Jesus. The entire New Testament is that story. And anyone who says otherwise has not read it or is lying. God does not prefer you because of your DNA or anyone else because of their DNA. So the fact that people can stand up in the United States in 2025 and say something like that, and by the way, not even make the case, just invoke the power of God as a weapon. He will kill you. He'll pull the plug on your country unless you go along with this. We need more war. Listen to yourself. This is a heresy and it's deranged. And you know it's deranged because it's a justification for killing the innocent. And in Christianity, if there's one thing that's crystal clear, it's that Christians cannot abide the killing of the innocent. People who have done nothing wrong cannot be killed. That's a sin. You are not allowed to do that, period.
All right, let's continue this conversation. We'll bring in Newsmax senior political analyst and former Republican senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum, along with the president and CEO of Catholics for Catholics, John Yep.
Scroll in the fence there. Maybe
this is really troubling.
why doesn't ever phone to video? Hello, Swallow, who jumps very fast.
That's right. That's right. And now this, and this is going. The left is going to play this up like they've never played it up before.
No, it's a very divisive thing, and it's having a huge impact. And look, I've known Tucker for a long time. I think he made a huge mistake in inviting Nick Fuentes on this program. I understand, at least from hearing from him and others, that it was an attempt to, confront him. But if you look at the way he handled Ted Cruz, and you look at the way he handled Nick Fuentes, there's no comparison. He didn't really confront. I think he differentiated on a few things, and because I watched it twice.
to sort of see, there were times he gave very gentle pushbacks, but the bottom line is, in tone as well as in ferocity, he was much more aggressive with Cruz. But having said that, it's just concerning that we're even having this discussion on the right. I mean, I agree with you, Red. I thought this was a problem on the left. I never thought this was going to be an issue on the right. I just listened to Tucker's explanation of, the DNA and all this kind of stuff. I understand what he's talking about. He's talking about dispensationalism, and maybe John can get into that, but there is a brand of Christianity that says this is the new Israel, and there's all these sort of, biblical demands as a result of supporting Israel. That is not a Christian Zionist. That's where the term comes from, but that's not a modern day Christian Zionist. I consider myself a Christian and a Zionist, but I'm not a dispensationalist. And I think, again, Tucker sort of blends the two there. I just think there's a lot of problems here. I'm just hopeful. I really pray. I've been praying very hard about this, that saner minds can come and that we can have some interventions here. And look, Nick Fuentes is, I never said a lost cause, but he's a long way from coming anywhere into the rational area. But I think I'm hopeful that Tucker and others can see the errors of what they're doing.
John, your read on this.
I think that you have to hate one thing, and that is those who deny the existence of God. I don't know what I am Tucker, he's talking about Christian Zionists. I know I'm a Catholic, along with Rob and Rick. We have a very clear teaching that the Catholic Church is the new Israel. That does not justify ever anti-Semitic hatred. Those people who were the first to hear the word of God. My ancestors literally saved Jews from Auschwitz, and Joseph Chuba was sent to Auschwitz, and he was killed for that very reason. So I care about them, but at the same time, I think it's very important. When Tucker is in there, I will agree with him that dispensationalism does not have a place within Christianity. We don't recognize that it's we have a biblical mandate to support the 1948 state of Israel. Should we respect them? Absolutely. 100%. Are the Israelis the best in position to defend our sacred holy sites? Probably. Radical Islam is horrible. Mahdi's going to win tomorrow in New York City, a travesty. So I think we have to have clear heads. Debate is good. I don't know what the point is. I think a lot of what he says is totally off the mark. I can't stand his vulgarity. But that being said, I think we need to continue on with a lot of courage to have these conversations. It's important.
Well, I just want to say one point. I just think it has to be clarified because it was stated by Boccia in a previous interview that she said that Kevin Roberts was, basically supporting Fuentes. He actually put out a very, very strong tweet, and that he has nothing to do with Nick Fuentes. Heritage will have nothing to do with Nick Fuentes, and to suggest that he somehow was complicit with Fuentes, completely wrong. What Kevin was focused on was making sure that when we engage people like that with facts and forceful arguments and try to cancel them is a bad idea. Let them speak, but forcefully combat them, which Tucker did not do.
Right. Yes, supporting free speech, but then again, if something is not acceptable, well then pull back.
Exactly.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Senator. Thanks, John. Thank you, guys. All right, coming up, California Governor Gavin Newsom is back in the hot seat, seems to live there, pushing a new ballot measure that could hand Democrats 5 new congressional seats. Details straight ahead.
But first, Democrats send their heavy hitters onto the campaign trail as they hope to avoid stunning defeats. This as President Trump is going all in for the Republicans, as you may have guessed. Stay with us on American Agenda.
Donald Trump's second presidency is changing America. Now you need to watch Rob Schmidt tonight on President Trump's next big move. Then tune into Rob Finnerty taking on Trump's critics. President Trump says he watches Newsmax. You should too. Download our Newsmax app to watch us anytime, anywhere. Millions are making the switch to Newsmax. Be one.
It's a region of the world that has known little peace since the beginnings of recorded history. But in September of 1978, President Sadat of Egypt, Prime Minister Begin of Israel, and President Carter of the United States set out to change that. Initiated by the Egyptian leader's proclamation that he would be willing to travel anywhere, even Jerusalem, to seek peace.
Illegal.
As your delivery. On the 17th
Are you going to get it?
Delivery.
Alexa notification.
For a weekend with former President Barack Obama, the two putting President Trump and Jack Ciattarelli on blast at their own rally.
Because let's face it, our country and our politics are in a pretty dark place right now. It's hard to know where to start. Because every day, this White House offers up a fresh bet
extended his reach across New Jersey. Just 1 year ago, when he won the presidency in 2024, he cut his 2020 loss from 16 points down to 6. He also flipped 5 counties here in the Garden State to GOP. Republicans in the state also want to keep this momentum going with their GOP gubernatorial candidate. Now, if you look at New Jersey for early voting, over 1 million votes have already been cast. And at this point, yes, the Democrats are outvoting Republicans in the state. However, you have to keep in mind, this is a state where there are 2.5 million unaffiliated voters, and they, of course, can swing either way. So if you still look at the polls, it really is anyone's race. Back to you.
All right, Christina, thanks so much. Live in Tortola, New Jersey. Time to bring in another Jersey guy. He's a radio host, Bill Spady, as well as former Democratic strategist Dan Turntime, and former Republican senator from Pennsylvania. He's been with us, Rick Santorum. So, Bill, let me talk to you first. You're in the Garden State. You ran in the primary. What's it like right now? I mean, this is a different race than 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Trump did much better. I think Chitterelli campaigning in some of these urban areas. Enrollment shrunk a little bit. It's set to win for him, huh?
Well, you think so, for sure. And here's the thing. We're looking at the numbers. Right now, the Democrats have 289,000 vote advantage going into tomorrow. So, again, it's all about turnout. How many Republicans are going to turn out tomorrow is going to decide the race, because the enthusiasm is there for Republicans, less so for Democrats, which is why you see Barack Obama coming into the Garden State to try to get that support out. Now, as far as the polling goes, it depends on what poll you look at. The difficult side for Jack Ciattarelli is that there have been 5 polls in the last 3 weeks with Mikey Sherrill at 50% or higher. The other problem is the voter deficit. Now, the good news is Republicans like to vote in person, and they like to vote on Election Day. So it is absolutely anybody's game. The question is, what is the Trump factor? Is Mikey Sherrill, is she able to make Trump the campaign and make it a negative, or is this really about affordability in the Garden State? And if so, and voters decide that they want to change from years of Democratic mismanagement, then Jack should have a good day tomorrow.
Senator Santorum, obviously, not just one election going on tomorrow, lots throughout the entire country. I know, of course, you and your eye in Pennsylvania, among others. What stands out for you the most? How do you think all of this is going to play out kind of as a whole?
Well, let me just first talk about Pennsylvania, because I believe it's usually largely been ignored by the media. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania put their finger on the scale against Donald Trump in 2020, and it's one of the reasons he lost Pennsylvania, where all the rulings the Supreme Court did to allow a lot more votes to be counted during COVID that were legally allowed. In fact, they said, we're only just going to count them in this election, but not in the future. This is how political that court is. And 3 of those 5 Democrats, there's 7 members of the court, 5 Democrats, 2 Republicans. 3 of the 5 Democrats are up for retention. And there's been a major effort that he put forward to remove them, vote no, through retention. That would be, candidly, in my mind, the biggest vote when it comes to what's going to happen in the next presidential election. As far as the midterms, Virginia and New Jersey are key. And I think the numbers in New Jersey look more optimistic, but I don't count out Virginia. I mean, I think the Attorney General's candidate, Jones, and his death threats have flipped that race. He was winning that race. He's now solidly behind, and has closed the other race. So, all in all, I think it could be a very exciting night tomorrow.
Dan, what about Virginia and Jersey? Why don't you handicap both of them?
Yeah, I think both of them just said it accurately, which is it's going to be about turnout. Democrats have been nervous about New Jersey since August because Mickey Sherrill has a voter enthusiasm problem. And I think what we're going to get tomorrow night is some insight about Donald Trump's inroads with working class people of color. The reason you see President Obama coming into New Jersey is his old coalition, the coalition of the ascendant, they called it, young voters, people of color, and liberals. Those first 2, young voters and people of color, have left the party. And do they stick by Donald Trump? Do they turn out? And then who do they turn out for? Now, Democrats are pretty nervous about New Jersey. I think Virginia, they feel a little better, but there too, Spanberger has had a little bit of trouble with turnout. Do blacks down in Norfolk and around the Richmond area turn out? With Jay Jones kind of collapsing, the reason you didn't see Democrats turn on him, they want the black vote to turn out. And it's a
Visitors will find Lincoln's favorite walking stick resting on this, a gift of appreciation from Lincoln's widow, Mary. Douglas expanded the home's original 14 rooms to 21, including a 2-story library. He needed a home close to official Washington because Republican President Rutherford B. Hayes appointed him Marshal of the District of Columbia, marking the first time an African American won Senate approval for a federal appointment. But despite all of Douglas's success, life was a constant struggle. Outside Cedar Hill sits what was known as the Growlery, so called because this one-room building was a respite for Douglas to growl and sort out the pressures of the day. Douglas was a vocal and prominent member of Washington society, championing African American and women's suffrage. His home often served as a gathering spot for other pioneers of justice and equality before the law. I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong, Douglas famously.
When Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, fell on the 30th of April 1975, America's long conflict there may have ended, but it took decades for the nation to heal its wounds. In 1973, President Nixon orchestrated the Paris Peace Accords, bringing to an end America's involvement in the Vietnam War. America's view of the all seemed well until March of 1975. But Senator Ted Kennedy led Congress in cutting off all aid to South Vietnam. Within weeks, Communist North Vietnam reneged on the peace accords and invaded their neighbors to the south. Without U.S. support, South Vietnam fell to the Communists, and throughout South Vietnam, a bloodbath ensued as hundreds of thousands of South Vietnamese who had backed the U.S. were massacred. Empowered by the events in Vietnam, Communists in Laos and Cambodia soon toppled their pro-Western regimes, and Southeast Asia became a killing field, with the genocide of an additional 2 million people. You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.
You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.
Here's some breaking news out of the state of Virginia. University of Virginia police are reporting the possibility of an active shooter on campus. Here's exactly what they posted on X. Quote, active attacker with a gun reported in the area of Shannon Library, 160 McCormick Road, run, hide, fight. This is a developing story. There is more investigation happening at that library. As mentioned, of course, we'll keep you posted as we learn more on this developing story. Turning out to California, Governor Gavin Newsom is making a last-minute push for Proposition 50. Now, that's a measure that would temporarily replace California's current congressional maps with new lines drawn by the legislature. That's a move some call partisan gerrymandering.
And backers say the plan could flip as many as 5 Republican House seats in 26, and some on the right are calling it a power grab.
And before we go to correspondent Heather Myers, live in San Diego with the details. Heather, what have you learned? What can you share?
Yeah, Ralph and Katrina, if the latest polling numbers are correct, it does appear that Proposition 50 here in California will pass. That's unless those who decide to vote no show up to the polls today and tomorrow to turn in their ballots. California Governor Gavin Newsom was recently interviewed, asked exactly about Proposition 50, this very expensive special election act costing California taxpayers almost $300 million. He says he is fighting hard against President Trump.
He's not screwing around. He's changing the rules. He's rigging the game because he knows he'll lose if all things are equal. He did not expect California to fight fire with fire. He expected us, as so often is the case, to try to argue for what's the right thing to do. He did not expect us to do what we did.
According to an October 30th Berkeley IGS poll, 60% of likely voters will be voting yes on Prop 50 compared to 38% who are voting no. That falls right down party lines, with the poll finding 93% of the
voting no. Prop 50 will decide if the state should temporarily throw out its current congressional district map that was drawn up by the state's independent commission and replace it with a new one that was drawn up by the Democrats. This is part of a larger national fight in which Republicans and Democrats are accusing each other of gerrymandering their congressional districts to determine which party controls the U.S. House halfway through President Donald Trump's term. Nearly 23 million ballots were mailed out to registered voters in the state of California. Over the weekend, Political Data Inc. says that 24% of those ballots have been turned in so far. Now, Democrats have raised a lot of money to push for Prop 50 and using brand name Democrats like Barack Obama and paying for expensive TV commercials like the one that ran during Game 7 of the World Series. Republican Assemblyman Carl DeMaio, who is the chairman of Reform California, says even with all that, he is not giving up yet.
Yes, the polls look really bad because Republicans ran a pretty crappy campaign. The establishment let us down. But I believe in the people. And if neighbors tell neighbors and friends tell friends in the next few hours to get out to vote, we can come from behind. It's all about turnout. Turnout is very low in this election. So if Republicans turn out, we can save our democracy.
Well, Carl DeMaio, who you just heard from there, says that he has been on a statewide bus tour, making 72 stops in the past 3 days to fight Prop 50. Reporting live in San Diego, I'm Heather Myers. Rob Katrina, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Heather, thanks so much. Going to be interesting with a lot more Democrats in that state, and they vote, and it's going to pass.
And they tend to do just that.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, thank you. And joining us now, Republican candidate for governor in California, Steve Hilton. Steve, thanks so much for joining us here. We'll open the floor up to you. Let's start with Prop 50. Do you think it's going to pass?
Well, there's still time, exactly as Carl says. We've got to fight this till the last minute, and that is when the polls close tomorrow, because we cannot allow this disgusting, corrupt power grab from Gavin Newsom to go unchallenged. I've been with Carl on his bus tour and many of those stops, and we've been fighting all the way. And look, if there's one thing that really should get people out to vote no on Prop 50 in California, and actually for anyone watching around the country to tell your friends and family in living in California to go out and vote, that is this. The only reason that we're doing this in California is because Gavin Newsom wants to be president of the United States. That's the only reason this is happening, that we're spending $300 million of taxpayer money on it. And if we defeat it, Gavin Newsom's hopes of being president totally collapse. It will be a massive humiliation for him. So if you want to stop Gavin Newsom getting to the White House, being a contender for president, the best thing we can do is defeat Prop 50.
Real quickly, I want to get your thoughts on Gavin Newsom's interview with NBC, where he says he doesn't like when a politician lies, but he forgot what he said just a couple days before.
Governor, let me ask you, why do you want to be president?
I don't. I'm not suggesting I am. Nothing. I dislike more than a politician that just sits there and lies to you. We all just sit there rolling our eyes going, give me a break.
After the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought.
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
Steve, he can't do that. Real quick.
It's amazing. It's like everything he says is a lie. I mean, we're just about to put out a video. I mean, just on and on. You know, he said, oh, I don't know, who ever suggested we would ever say Latinx? I never said that. There's endless examples of him using that ridiculous phrase. He lies about absolutely everything. About what President Trump is doing, about his own record, about his plans for the future. It's all a lie with him, and that's the truth about Gavin Newsom. On top of all of that, he's got all this politics going on, he's got his lying, but the state that he is supposed to be running is a total disaster, failing on every front. The worst results on everything, the highest poverty rate, the highest unemployment rate, highest gas prices, homelessness, crime. Everything's a disaster. He's the most useless governor in America, and his lying won't cover up for that.
Yeah, but Steve, he's got great hair, and that you can get away with a lot.
That's my line. I say it all the time.
My line is, I think in California it's time for a governor with less hair.
I like what you did there, Steve Hilton. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. All right, coming up, Newsmax magazine is reflecting on Charlie Kirk and his legacy that's going to live on forever. We'll have next the executive editor of Newsmax magazine. He's going to join us live
the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for the record on Newsmax. It was built to be the most beautiful Gothic cathedral in the New World, New York's St. Patrick's Cathedral. In the mid-1800s, Catholics were pouring into Ellis Island, many to flee the Great Famine in Ireland. These poor immigrants, nevertheless, contributed what they could to purchase property for a brand new Catholic church. By 1858, it was decided that a grand cathedral would stand at the future heart of the city. But Archbishop John Hughes, who oversaw construction, was ridiculed. New Yorkers dubbed the cathedral Hughes Folly, arguing the site was practically in the wilderness, too far outside the city. But Hughes proved to be a visionary. For many years, the 330-foot spires towered over New York, and the spiritual grandeur continues inside. The altars of St. Louis and St. Michael were designed by Tiffany & Company. The Pietà, sculpted by William Ordway Partridge, is 3 times larger than Michelangelo's version in St. Peter's. St. Patrick's has served as a site of national comforting throughout history, such as the days following the 9/11 terror attacks, and masses remembering notables like Babe Ruth, Cruz, and TV host Ed Sullivan. In 1968, thousands gathered here for a poignant mass to pay their last respects to Robert F. Kennedy. One newspaper wrote on the cathedral's opening to the public, "It's the noblest temple ever raised in any land to the memory of St. Patrick, and is the glory of Catholic America." Over 150 years later, visitors from all over the world agree. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
You hear the same voices Donald Trump knows as are the same people Donald Trump has let listen saying the same thing.
Insults and backstabbing and outright lies.
You say enough. I'm Chris Salcedo, and I'll tell you the real news. You don't believe me? Just tune in.
When Rosa Parks stepped on that Montgomery, Alabama bus on December 1st, 1955, she didn't set out to make history. She just wanted to get home. Montgomery's segregated buses had divided seating. White passengers in front, colored passengers in the back. When the bus driver needed more seats for his white passengers, he ordered her and 3 others to vacate their seats. The others complied and moved. But Rosa quietly refused and was quickly arrested. Working alongside Dr. Martin Luther King, Rosa's arrest sparked a highly effective citywide protest with African Americans boycotting city buses. Rosa's protest and resulting boycott didn't end segregation, but it sparked a movement that ended the racial system, paving the way for a more equal society. You're watching An American Moment.
Right, we continue with breaking news out of Virginia. We told you that University of Virginia police were investigating a possible armed threat on campus. The police there putting out a new update moments ago, writing, quote, "Police are in the Shannon Library continuing to investigate. At this time, there is no evidence of an attacker." Of course, these are very fluid situations, so of course we'll keep an eye on this and bring you updates as we learn more.
I certainly hope that's true. All right, welcome back to American Agenda. So, some big news to share with you. The November edition of Newsmax magazine is out. There it is. This month's cover features Charlie Kirk. And in that cover piece, Newsmax magazine dissects Charlie's life and the legacy that he leaves behind. And to tell us all about it, it's the executive editor of Newsmax magazine, Ken Chandler. You know, I went through this magazine. I think you need a raise for putting out something like that.
That's a great way to start. Months since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but the movement he started is anything but dead. You know, I find it hard to recall any one person, except for perhaps for a president, who had a bigger impact on young people in this country. You know, it used to be a rule of politics that the young vote was democratic. That assumption has been totally shattered.
Very interesting. You know, Ken, we were talking a little bit during the break, and you know, it has only been a matter of days, and the response has been
about the cancel culture, which has suffocated free thought, the economic burdens of student debt, and the hollow promises of woke ideology. And these are things that really resonate. And from our reporting, we see the movement that he started is just going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah. All right. And again, helping to do that with the newest issue of Newsmax magazine. Ken Chandler, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this is your chance to stay informed with Newsmax magazine, delivering bold reporting and the truth that you really won't find anywhere else. Subscribe today and get Dick Morris's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk, along with a bonus gift as part of a free offer. Just call or go online and check it out. All right, and coming up, rap superstar Nicki Minaj thanking President Trump, an apparent no-no for some of her fans. What she's saying and the intense internet outrage you won't want to miss. Stay with us.
Future music icon was born Gloria Maria Milagrosa Fajardo Garcia in Havana, on September 1st, 1957. But the world will come to know her as the singing sensation Gloria Estefan. At the age of 2, her family escaped communist Cuba and fled to Miami. Graduating high school with honors, Gloria became an American at age 17 and went on to earn a college degree from the University of Miami. While still attending college, Gloria performed an impromptu duet at a relative's wedding. It was there she met her future husband, Emilio Estefan, and the band she would make famous, the Miami Sound Machine. After 2 years of dating in 1978, Gloria Garcia married Emilio Estefan Jr., to whom she still refers to as my very first and only boyfriend. Earning worldwide success with her signature song Conga, Gloria Estefan has 38 #1 hits, sold over 75 million records, and opened the world's marketplace for other Latin artists such as J-Lo, Ricky Martin, and Selena Gomez. Crowned the queen of Latin pop music and considered one of the best-selling female artists of all time, she has earned 3 Grammy Awards, the American Music's Lifetime Achievement Award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her music contributions and charity work, as well as a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, right next to her husband. In addition to their musical triumphs, Gloria and Emilio Estefan are also successful entrepreneurs with numerous business enterprises, including a minority stake in the Miami Dolphins. When not on a world tour, you'll find the two entertainment legends at home here on a private.
International, a celebrity. No question.
Sorry.
You're watching An American Life on Newsmax TV.
order for us to respect each other. I just want to start with the senator because he looks completely shocked.
So, yeah, Nicki Minaj, great. Go for it. I love that. That's wonderful.
So you cannot thank Trump or mention Trump for saving Christians from their debt. If you do, you're persona non grata. That's apparently what the
You can't say anything positive about Trump if you're in Hollywood, without getting attacked. And look at, she just was saying, she was thanking him, and of course, people are attacking her because, and she's not saying she's supporting Trump. She's saying, thank you. Exactly.
And what are all the people who are criticizing her in defending Christians in
So old.
Nigeria, right? They're not,
Mhm.
they haven't said anything. In fact, this has been an talked about issue. You talk about all the Gaza and places like that. Thousands more are being slaughtered deliberately, packed up in churches and burned church. I mean, this is not collateral damage to attack on terrorists. This is an attempt to the genocide. Silence from Hollywood. Silence from Black communities.
Well, and they're also going after a different group. They're going after J.D. Vance now because he was publicly expressing his hope that his Hindu wife, Usha, would one day convert to Christianity. He was speaking at the University of Mississippi and he said he wished that she'd be moved by the same thing that inspired him in church. He's a Catholic convert.
Yeah.
And of course they went nuts.
Yeah, Fred Flanner was insensitive, but Democratic California Representative Ro Khanna, who is also Hindu, came to the Capitol defense, urging people to attack Vance's policies, not his family. Ro Khanna posting on X saying, quote, no one has been harsher on J.D. Vance's policy than I have, but his wife is an accomplished daughter of immigrants and they have young kids. Attack on the policies leaves his family out of it. Alex, again, just seeing practicality, coming from people where it's like you don't have to agree with everything, but again, keep it focused on the issues. I love what Ro Khanna said. Agree with his policies, fine, keep his family out of it, especially his children. I'm glad that he did that.
Heavy on the segment to agree with Nicki Minaj. Okay.
We're having some fun with this.
That's great. I mean, wow. No, look, we all know that marriage, the religion of marriage can be a very divisive thing, and it leads to a lot of conflict in the marriage. And so, to the extent that they might be able to find common ground, would be, and look, that's something you should encourage for people to do, and so that makes the marriage healthy and stronger. That's what we should be about. We shouldn't be about criticizing them for someone wishing that they have unity within their marriage. Marriage is supposed to be unity.
Yeah, and also I appreciate that it really shows that, they got married, they fell in love, even if they didn't share the same religious beliefs, and that's okay too. All right, Senator Santorum and Allison Maloney, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, more American Agenda right after this.
When I served in combat, we relied on the most accurate information to complete the mission. We were from small units that require trust. That mission hasn't changed. I'll bring you the best information that you can trust.
Watch Carl Higbie's Frontline every weeknight, 6 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax.
Lucky Luciano.